welcome. This is Total View. My name is Joyce Mabika. Today we are discussing the Tripartite Negotiating Forum, which was launched in the capital yesterday. Firstly, we start off with a glimpse of some of the highlights of the TNF.
The Tripartite Negotiating Forum has been in existence for close to 2 decades, championing dialogue on many issues affecting the socio-economic landscape of our country. However, the lack of a legal framework, political will, and a zeal to work together had negatively impacted the full potential of the forum. I'm pleased that this has finally been redressed under the Second Republic. In keeping with our new culture of openness and dialogue, I'm optimistic that the enactment of this Tripartite Negotiating Forum legislation will enable the emergency of a stronger and a more responsive social dialogue platform capable of contributing to the speedy resuscitation of the economy and attainment of Vision 2030.
It is not the sole responsibility of either government, employers, or workers to find solutions to the economic and social challenges. This is the responsibility of all citizens. Social dialogue is an effective tool for people to find each other, forge a new national vision, and commit to work together towards a common purpose. As the ILO, we are convinced that the commissioning of the TNF as a legislative chamber will go a long way to implement the TNF bill, which you recently signed into law.
The Zimbabwe labor movement is pleased to be part of this historic moment in the history of the working people of Zimbabwe. It is historic in that for over 2 decades we have been waiting for this occasion. It also could not have come at a more appropriate time given the various crises afflicting our economy, and hopefully it will provide an impetus to our quest to find a lasting solution to the problems facing our great nation.
The TNF is Zimbabwe's social dialogue platform, bringing together government, organized business, and organized labor to negotiate key socio-economic matters that affect all stakeholders and the nation at large. Given the myriad of economic challenges bedeviling the nation, its agenda is already cut out.
To discuss more on this, we've invited the Minister of Public Service, Labour and Social Welfare, Dr. Sekai Nzenza. Welcome to Total View.
Thank you for having me in the studio, Joyce.
All right, maybe to start us off, can you give us a brief history and background of the TNF?
The TNF stands for Tripartite Negotiating Forum. It is a bit of a mouthful. So in short, we call it the TNF. The TNF means social dialogue, or creates a social platform between business, labor, and government.
All right, so it has been launched. What does this mean to government, labor, and business?
Let me just give you a brief background on how it started. The idea of creating a TNF in Zimbabwe started in 1998. And it was not anything new. It was actually created so that Zimbabwe can be in alignment with the auspices of the ILO, in other words, the International Labour Organization. There's a convention. It's called the Convention 144 of the ILO on tripartite consultations, which Zimbabwe ratified in 1989. When I say ratified, it means Zimbabwe, in simple terms, agreed to comply with the principles of the International Labour Organization.
All right. So as government, why have you been negotiating for this TNF?
Since it was agreed in 1989 that this was going to happen, It has taken us time.
A long time.
It has taken us 20 years. However, there were some successes. There was, for example, in February 2010, they have what's called the Kadoma Declaration.
Okay.
At the Kadoma Declaration, business, labor, and government met and agreed that they will have a principle under the tripartite negotiating forum. It wasn't a bill, it was an agreement. So at the Kadoma Declaration, they said together they would look at issues of socio-economic interest affecting the country. Also in order to encourage investors and also to have a better perception of Zimbabwe to the international world. This is in February 2010. Let me just keep going. It didn't work though. We didn't, when I say it didn't work, we didn't move.
Yes.
We didn't move. We got stuck.
So who was to blame for that sticking point?
There was some success.
Okay.
The success that happened was in 2014. The principles of the TNF were actually tabled in cabinet and adopted. The next step was that we go through a consultation process. The consultation process involves getting people from the labor, meaning trade unions, from business, meaning employers, and also from us as government. The consultation process takes time. But since 2014, I have to admit, we didn't do much.
Okay, all right. So now, you know, it's been signed into law. What does this imply?
Firstly, I want to say how excited we are that it's been signed into law. And I also want to, in particular, acknowledge the commitment and leadership of our president in ensuring that there is a conversation, or what we call the social dialogue between business, labor, and government. The consultation process that led to the signing of the bill required input from this, the three parties I'm talking about, but not just that, as well as from civic society. And when we had the draft, it had to go for consultation in all the 10 provinces. This was the parliamentary consultation. And then the draft bill came into parliament. And as you know, in parliament, we have the ruling party as well as the opposition. So what's required in making this bill is to get the views of everybody involved.
Right.
It's a democratic process.
We are discussing the tripartite negotiating forum, which was launched in the capital yesterday. We are discussing with the Minister of Public Service, Labour and Social Welfare, Dr. Sekai Nzenza. Do stay tuned. We will be back shortly after this break. Now, welcome back. We are discussing the tripartite negotiating forum, which was launched in the capital yesterday. To discuss that, we have invited to the studio Minister of Public Service, Labour and Social Welfare, Dr. Sekai Nzenza. Now, tell us, what are some of the key features of the Tripartite Negotiating Forum Act?
The functions of the forum is to consult and negotiate over key social economic issues. This negotiation is done by the key members, selected members of the TNF. And then the team recommends to cabinet the principles.
Okay.
And it also helps to create or foster cooperation of these different parties, so that they also contribute to the formulation or the creation of policy.
Okay.
And that's why it's quite important. And as the Minister of Public Service, Labour and Social Welfare, one of my key roles is the formulation of policy. But I can't formulate policy on my own. I need these three key parties to be part of that process.
All right. So how critical is this TNF in the broader vision of sustainable, the socio-economic development of Zimbabwe?
It is very important that the three parties come to a round table in a social dialogue to create what we call a social contract. Zvinorewa kuti tine ma-trade unions tozoita vebusiness ndiri kureva ma-employers tozoita vegovernment like inini ndakamirira government but ndinenge ndakamirira government with 7 other people representing government tozoita 7 people representing my trade unions, that's the labor part, toita 7 representing the employers do business. Then we also have 2 other key members. These represent the Consumer Council of Zimbabwe. So you can see, with a whole lot of people in a round table discussing the socio-economic issues, like for example, we have my price hikes.
All right, saka izvinoita kuti zvakuchifamba vanhu vese vakudhonzerana zvakafanana. But vamwe vari kuti zvone there is mistrust among these 3 partners, the government, labor ne-business. Zviri kufambirana here? Is everyone equal on this platform?
Your question of equality, that is a difficult question.
Right.
Because
Why?
it's difficult to talk about equality.
All right.
Often someone has got more power than the other. But what we aim to do is to find a level playing field. And this TNF provides a level playing field to see where the inequality and the imbalance is. I know one of the questions you want to ask me, so I'll let you ask me.
All right. Well, there's concern that, well, the government is the big brother in this forum.
Yes, yes.
What are your views? What can you say about that?
The government's role is to listen and to find common ground with the different social partners. Now, with the social partners, I'm now talking about the business and the trade unions and the government. If we weren't sincere and if we weren't acting in good faith, we wouldn't have come as far as we did. So we're all ready because our aim is to move towards what the president has called the middle income economy by Vision 2030. And what it means is, otherwise
All right, so what's your response to the view that the TNF could be the government's tool to silence a critique and demonstration? Like, for example, can Labour still demonstrate under the TNF?
I'm glad you've asked that question because there's been a misconception.
All right.
Where some people felt that, oh, this TNF actually means people cannot demonstrate. It means people cannot go on strike. I would like to categorically say that is not true.
All right.
What this TNF means is that we have a round table where we can now listen to views regarding the socio-economic situation in the country. If it's to do with salaries, for example, if people say, look, we're just not happy with the amount of money we're getting, it's understandable. But we need to talk about it. We need to discuss it. We need to find a resolution. If we fail to find that resolution, there's freedom of association. Freedom of association means munenge mune trade union yenyu. Kana mchinge tatadza kuwirirana, munokwanisa kutaura kuti isusu we are now putting our tools down. Takukanda mapadza edu pasi nekuti hatina kuwirirana. Tochienda tono demonstrate. Government cannot stop people from going on strike. But what this TNF does is ngatirega kungotanga tanodaidzira kuti zvinhu hazvisi kufamba isi tisina kutaurirana.
Okay, Mamboti Paya, there's no equality. Saka, would you say that this remains or it will remain in government's favor despite the TNF?
I wouldn't say it remains in government favor because Actually, I'm not saying there's no equality. What I'm saying is it's difficult to say this is perfectly equal.
Okay.
But what we aim for is equality.
All right.
But the role of the TNF is to listen to each other, to have a discussion and find solutions to issues that affect the socio-economic situation in the country.
We take a break. When we return, we'll take a look at what business is doing in this tripartite negotiating forum, which was launched here in the capital yesterday. Stay tuned. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. You are watching A Total View. Today we are discussing the Tripartite Negotiating Forum. We are discussing with the Minister of Public Service, Labour and Social Welfare, that's Dr. Sekai Nzenza. Now we were looking at the issue of business, and the question I had asked you just before the break, what's your response to sentiments that business is just profiteering and it's just being unethical in terms of pricing and profiteering?
Thank you for that question. I want to give you an example of what happened yesterday.
Okay.
Yesterday on my way home, I passed by the supermarket and mazoe anga arukuita $10. So I got mazoe at $10. Then when I got home, I said to my family, mazoe anga arukuita $10. Wakati, why didn't you get more? That's quite cheap. So, nasty. I sent somebody, kutashinotenga mazoe. Now $21.
All right.
So this is like within 24 hours,
Yes.
mazoe are $21. Kumamisha, I come from Chikomba, and I was there over the weekend. I was at the growth point called Chirasauta Growth Point. At Chirasauta, mazoe anga ari $23. Cooking oil was $18. Then you come into town, Pawedza, I got the same bottle of cooking oil, it was $12. So what's quite clear here is traders, businesses are choosing whatever price suits that particular trader. Now I want to say that's unfair. Then I would also want to say, when you want to go and buy mushonga right now, ukaenda ku chemist or pharmacy, stipe US dollars. And there's so many places where bondaris kushanda varikuda US dollars. Saka US dollars tune wana copy. And how many people can say tune US dollars? Yes. That I think is unfair. So in that regard, I could say we need to have a situation where there is price control. And this is an issue that's quite painful for especially the average person. We need my basic services. We need sugar, oil, soap, hoop, all those things. You can't do without. But kind of price up and down, that's very hard.
All right, so is the tripartite negotiating forum going to address that? If so, how is that going to be addressed?
This is where the tripartite negotiating forum comes in.
Okay, great.
Here, business will then be at the round table with people from government and also people representing the workers. So the three parties, Sakatriquit, tripartite, the three parties will say, for example, say mazoe arikukura kudai. Mazoe will just be an example. Kana kuti say sugar irikukwira. Then the three parties will say, let's agree kuti we have to control the price hikes. So if the three parties agree on a specific recommendation to do with price control with one voice, then I am the chairman or chairperson of the tripartite negotiating forum. So as the chairperson, I also sit in cabinet. So I'll be able to take those recommendations to cabinet. Now in cabinet, there is the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Industry and Commerce, of Minister of Justice. So my colleagues, my fellow partners, we then say the price hikes are hitting. This is what business is saying. And this is what the workers are saying. what is our position as government? Then we'll pass a resolution in cabinet. When it comes to the announcement, today cabinet, you see Honorable Monica Mchongo vachitaura kuti cabinet today passed this resolution. Okay. So I'm expecting that once the tripartite negotiating forum meets, which will meet twice a year, but it means we have to get the members first.
All right.
And then we will meet.
Business is also saying that some of the policies that government is bringing up are also affecting the way they price and the way they are conducting their businesses. Yes. What's your take on that?
I'll have to be very specific on what the government policy is, since I'm not from a finance or industry and commerce background.
In terms of the foreign currency rates that are prevailing on the parallel market.
That is very difficult, I mean, for me as Minister of Labour and Social Welfare, because my main focus is how are those policies affecting the most vulnerable in our society. Like if you're going to ask me, Saka Mr. Minister, issue yekuti kune RTGS, kune bond, kune US, how is that affecting vanhu vari kumamisha? I'll be able to answer you.
All right, well, probably I get into a shop, I've got US dollars, the price never changes. Then I come in with bond. That's when you get today, I've got Mazoe for $10. Tomorrow I get it for $23.
Yes,
that is allowed to run like that.
Yes,
and it's affecting labor.
Sure.
Business is not affected.
True.
What's your response to that kind of scenario?
This is why I'm saying it's hurting and it is unfair. And this is a matter that really is for discussion with my colleague, the Minister of Finance, as well as the Minister of Industry and Commerce. Representing the most vulnerable in the society, my role then is to go to my colleagues to say, Tata say, and that's what I'm doing. I'm doing that every day. Kuti Tata say.
Okay, so is there anything that will come out of this? Maybe, you know, as we draw to a close of our program, what do you see as the future of this TNF?
I am very excited about it. Let me speak more from a national level. What excites me about this is that it has taken us 20 years. 20 years to have trade unions, business, government to meet the President of Zimbabwe in the one room and to actually discuss the issues. It happened for the first time yesterday. So this is the beginning of a consultation process on socio-economic issues. It can only be seen as something really positive. Then on an international level, earlier on I talked about the ILO Convention on tripartitism. It's a big word. Tripartitism. So we are now in alignment with the ILO Convention. And because we are in alignment, it also helps us to promote the President's mantra when he says Zimbabwe is open for business. And when we say Zimbabwe is open for business, investors often say, but hang on. How do they treat their trade unions? Do trade unions have a voice? But now they'll say, oh yes, they do have a TNF. So they'll feel more comfortable coming to Zimbabwe and putting some investment in.
All right, but isn't this another talk show? Is there a time frame to all these things?
My staff in the office will tell you that they're beginning to call me time frame. That came out today because I'm saying if we make a promise, we must be accountable for the decision that we make, and we must have a time frame. Yes. So having launched this yesterday, the President put his signature on. The next step now is to identify the key members required to make the quorum of what constitutes the
Okay,
TNF.
We'll definitely be following up to hear about this time frame and of course to find out the progress after the launching of this tripartite negotiating forum, which was launched in the capital yesterday. We've been talking there to the Minister of Public Service, Labour and Social Welfare, Dr. Sekai Nzenza. Thank you very much for granting us the interview and of course the information that you've given us today.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, it's been Total View. Today we've been discussing the Tripartite Negotiating Forum. Join us again for another exciting edition of Total View. My name is Joyce Mabika. Thank you for watching.